An OU student accused of domestic assault against his pregnant girlfriend is set to stand trial. And Russia strikes 5 Ukrainian train stations. We have the latest. Plus, the Oklahoma Tourism Department cancels its contract with its state park restaurants. We'll tell you why. This is OU Nightly. Hello and thank you for watching OU Nightly. I'm Dylan Rivera.
And I'm Zaria Oates. We begin with the jury selection in a trial that involves 2 OU students in a brutal case of domestic violence.
OU Nightly's Morgan Owens is live at the Cleveland County Courthouse with the story. Morgan?
Zaria, Dylan, here's what we know about the trial that begins this week between 2 OU students, Gage Ford and Allie Stevens. The jury selection began this morning in Judge Bachman's courtroom here at the Cleveland County Courthouse. The events that led to this trial began in October of 2020. Ford was charged with 1 count of domestic assault and battery against Stevens, who was pregnant at the time. Ford posted bond and was released from jail while awaiting this trial. Since the incident, Stevens has become a mom and is now a known advocate for women who have been victims of domestic violence. Stevens tells us that she is set to testify against Ford on Wednesday morning at 9:30. OU Nightly will continue trial coverage throughout this week. Reporting live from the Cleveland County Courthouse, Morgan Owens, OU Nightly.
Thanks, Morgan. A vital escape route for Ukrainians is under attack after Russian forces struck 5 railway stations in Ukraine. It's allegedly part of a plan to systematically destroy railway infrastructure, according to the chairman of Ukraine's state railway company. CNN's Gloria Pazmino has the story.
Russian forces are aiming at one of the few ways out of war-torn Ukraine. The state railway company said 5 train stations were struck in central and western Ukraine Monday, resulting in casualties. The railway attack comes just a day after U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin made an unannounced visit to the region.
We believe that they can win if they have the right equipment, the right support.
They are the highest level U.S. officials to visit Ukraine since the invasion began. Blinken said other U.S. diplomats will return later this week and praised Ukraine for standing strong against attacks in some parts of the country.
Russia continues to try to brutalize parts of the country, and the death and destruction that we continue to see is horrific. But Ukrainians are standing up. They're standing strong.
Meanwhile, there seems to be no reprieve for the besieged city of Mariupol, where a steel plant continues to be a significant holdout site for Ukrainian forces and civilians taking shelter. Video released by the Azov Regiment this Sunday reportedly shows women and children in a bunker at the steel plant.
On behalf of all the people of Mariupol, I urge the world, help us. We want to live.
I'm Gloria Pazmino reporting.
The attacks come just a day after U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin made an unannounced visit to the region. They're the highest level officials to visit since the invasion began.
A major ruling in the case of a Texas mother on death row. OU Nightly's Emily Faith has that story and the rest of today's headlines from around the U.S.
Thanks, Dylan. Today, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals granted a stay of execution for a mother convicted of killing her daughter. Melissa Lucio and her attorneys believe she was wrongfully convicted of capital murder in 2007 for the death of her toddler Mariah. Doctors say Mariah showed signs of multiple injuries. Along with many advocates across the U.S., 5 members of Lucio's jury came forward in support of the stay of execution, saying she deserves a new trial based on evidence that was not heard. The case will go back to trial to review new evidence. A New York judge is holding former United States President Donald Trump in civil contempt. The state attorney general's office says Trump did not comply with a subpoena for documents needed to investigate the Trump Organization. Trump's attorney is claiming that the former president does not have the documents being requested. The judge says he will fine Trump $10,000 a day until he complies. Trump's company is currently under investigation for fraudulent conduct in appraisals and financial statements. The jury selection process in the trial of Parkland school shooter Nicholas Cruz will be restarting due to a judge's error. The 11 potential jurors were expected in court Monday for questioning, but due to a miscommunication, they were not told to return on the correct day. Cruz is facing the death penalty after pleading guilty to murder and attempted murder in October. In 2018, Cruz shot and killed 17 people and injured 17 more at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Dorothy's iconic blue and white dress is no longer in Oz. The dress worn by Judy Garland in The Wizard of Oz is being auctioned off next month and is expected to bring in between $800,000 and $1.2 million for charity. Back to you, Zaria.
Thanks, Emily. Well, the Biden administration is working to make Pfizer's antiviral COVID-19 pill more widely available. The White House is set to announce new details today on Paxlovid, which the FDA authorized in December. According to tweets over the weekend by the White House's COVID-19 response coordinator, the administration is working on establishing more places where Paxlovid will be available. That includes more test-to-treat sites. That's where people can get free COVID testing, and if they test positive, can be prescribed free antiviral meds on the spot. There's only one other FDA-authorized COVID antiviral pill.
Well, it's a fantastic spring day, probably a good time to get out and walk the dog or just spend an evening outdoors.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, OU Nightly meteorologist Coy Taylor joins us with a look at tonight's forecast.
Yes, that's right, guys. An absolutely perfect day to walk your dog out there. We have about 3 hours of daylight left, so get out and enjoy it. Temperatures at the mid to upper 60s right now across the metro. 65 degrees here in Oklahoma City, 66 here in Norman, and around 67 degrees right now down I-35 there in Purcell. And we're going to hold steady here over the next couple of hours. By 7 p.m., 65 degrees. After sunset, we cool down into the upper 50s. And I'll be back with your forecast in about 8 minutes. Dylan, Zaria, back to you.
Thanks, Coy. One Oklahoma restaurant is under fire as fraudulent activity is coming to light. How the restaurant's usage of excess pandemic funds is impacting their standing with the Oklahoma Tourism Department.
Plus, what's surrounding the Oklahoma State Capitol and representation of child victims here in Oklahoma. Straight ahead on OU Nightly.
The Oklahoma Tourism and Recreation Department canceled their contract with Swadley's Foggy Bottom Kitchen today. The move comes after the Tourism Department and Swadley's became the subject of intense scrutiny, including a criminal investigation and state audit. In March 2020, the state signed a 5-year contract that promised to pay for Swadley's operational losses, including monthly management fees. A state oversight committee found that the Tourism Department paid more than $16.7 million to Swadley's by December of 2021. In a statement released by the Oklahoma Tourism and Recreation Department, they say that their first duty is to safeguard taxpayer funds.
The investigation into the Tourism Department and Swadley's is a hot-button issue at the state capitol right now. OU Nightly's Libbey Dean is our Capitol beat reporter. She joins us now with more. Libbey.
Zaria, the Oklahoma Tourism Department issued a press release detailing all of this today. It's posted on their social media pages and was sent to media. Oklahoma Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell, who also served as the state's Secretary of Tourism, says he agrees with the department's decision to cancel its contract with Swadley's Foggy Bottom Kitchens. His statement came in a quote tweet of the department's press release. We do know the state auditor's office is looking into the contract between tourism and Swadley's, as well as the Oklahoma County District Attorney, who says his office will determine if there was any criminal activity involved in the situation. Governor Kevin Stitt signed the LEAD Act today after it was passed with bipartisan support late last week. Oklahoma House Bill 4455 is designed to lure in a Fortune 500 company to Oklahoma. Despite the legislation being signed into law, Stitt has yet to announce the name of the company.
I think we have as good a shot as anybody to make this happen, and then I cannot wait to stand up here with the CEO and make this generational impact announcement for Oklahoma.
And what to watch for next is an announcement of which company will receive the funding included in this mega legislation. Now, if you passed by the Capitol this week, you couldn't have missed the flags lining the front lawn. Each of the flags displayed at the Field of Flags ceremony represents victims of child abuse in Oklahoma. Collectively, they are a visual reminder of the more than 15,000 cases of child abuse in Oklahoma over the last year. Now, that's all for Capitol Report. Back to you guys at the desk.
A social media platform is prepping to be owned by just one person. Find out how much the company sold for up ahead.
Plus, we saw some dark and cloudy skies this weekend, but the sun is shining today. Coy Taylor details the quick turnaround.
Yes, live look at OU right now. It is sunny out there, so get outside and enjoy it. And tomorrow will be another day you'll want to get outside. I'll have the full forecast straight ahead on OU Nightly. OU Nightly, I'm Coy Taylor. Let's get a live look at Oklahoma City right now. We are basking in the sunshine. A few high-level clouds out there. Right now, 66 degrees at Will Rogers World Airport. North winds at about 15 miles per hour. And rather dry air out there. We have that cold front sweep through, bringing rain to southeastern Oklahoma and here in the metro. And that really dropped our dew points across the what would be state. 65 Oklahoma City, 66 in Norman. Around 68 right now in Lawton. Elk City, you're checking in at about 67 degrees. And here's going to be our wind speed forecast. We saw a north wind today. That's going to be dying down overnight tonight as we have high pressure building in. Wind speeds in the single digits or low teens across the what would be state. And then we see the winds pick up out of the south in what would be western Oklahoma in the Panhandle tomorrow for your Tuesday afternoon. And then that moves its way eastward into central Oklahoma as well as western Oklahoma on Wednesday. So that's going to be fueling fire threats across the state. We have a fire weather outlook for tomorrow, critical fire conditions in the Panhandle. That's why we have red flag warnings for Cimarron and Texas counties in the Oklahoma Panhandle for tomorrow. That runs from 1 p.m. until 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. Then looking back for tonight, it's going to be rather cool with high pressure building in. Clear skies, light winds, 30s across northern Oklahoma, 42 our low temperature here in Norman, about 43 in Ardmore, 42 Lawton, and 40 degrees in Elk City. Then by tomorrow afternoon, get outside and enjoy it. We'll have rather light winds for Oklahoma standards. Temperatures in the 70s with sunny skies, 70 here in Norman, 72 in Lawton, 73 Elk City, 75 degrees out towards Guyman. Dry weather fueling that fire threat. So if you are in the Panhandle, be careful with outdoor burning, and fire conditions could spread rapidly across the state. Here's our day planner for tomorrow here in Norman. Out the door tomorrow morning, 48 degrees, light winds, clear skies as well. So maybe a light jacket on your morning run. And then we're to 65 by the lunch hour, 70 degrees where we hit here in Norman with winds out of the east-southeast at about 9 miles per hour. Here's your 7-day forecast. We're monitoring 42 to 70 officially for your Tuesday, sunny skies. That wind increases a little bit more on your Wednesday, 75 degrees. And then we're up to near 80 Thursday with rain chances Thursday night into Friday. Friday night, we're monitoring the possibility of some severe weather across the state. So be sure to check back with us, and we'll have the latest with that throughout the week. But that's your latest forecast. Zaria, back to you.
Thanks, Coy. Well, Twitter announced this afternoon it is selling the company to Elon Musk for about $44 billion. The news comes 11 days after the Tesla and SpaceX CEO shocked the industry by offering to buy the social media giant. Less than a month ago, Musk revealed he had taken a more than 9% stake in the company. The deal will put the world's richest man in charge of one of the world's most influential social media platforms. In a tweet today, on Monday, Musk says he hopes his biggest critics stay on the platform to help bolster free speech.
Well, 75,000 plus packed their way into the Oklahoma Memorial Stadium to see OU football in action once again. Baker Mayfield, Brent Venables, and a new quarterback. Tyler DeLuca breaks down the spring game for us in sports.
Yeah, guys, the spring game on Saturday saw a new era of Sooner football ushered into the history books on the Palace on the Prairie. Not only did we see some new faces, lots of former players were in attendance, including a fan favorite being honored. All that and more next. Welcome back to OU Nightly. I am Tyler DeLuca, and it is time for sports. It was a party at the Palace on Saturday as former players and 75,360 fans were in attendance for the spring game. The first look of the Venables era on Owens Field left the new head coach very excited for the future.
Not only just a lot of people here, but passionate. That's what I noticed. You could, it was like a big game, and to me, that's what we want to create. Each and every time that we play, in the Palace.
OU Nightly was at the spring game in full force, and Ashley Velde was able to see the new Sooner defense firsthand.
Brent Venables' specialty, the defense came to play in the spring game, filled with sacks, fumbles, and lots of stops. The battle between the red and the white was one for the D.
Ethan Downs showed flash on Saturday, forcing and recovering a fumble while completing 2 sacks and 4 tackles, along with Marcus Stripling, who made 4 tackles for loss and a pair of sacks. Cornerback Joshua Eaton didn't make it easy on the offense either, breaking up a pass, staying on top of the receivers, and recovering a fumble. Overall, the red team held the white team offense to 364 yards. Meanwhile, the white team defense held the red team to a meager 173 total yards.
The red team ousted the white team 21-17. Reporting from outside Owen Field, Ashley Velde, OU Nightly.
While the spring game was a time to showcase the new era, it also came with a lot of celebration of the past. 2017 Heisman winner Baker Mayfield returned to Owen Field to be immortalized with a statue in Heisman Park that included a little dig at who he called Little Brother. While in Norman, Mayfield made sure to make time for the team and some of his local favorites.
Packed schedule, got to meet with Coach Venables in the morning, then talked to the team, and then was running around and had a little break. I got to have lunch with family and friends before the event at 5 to 7 in the Everest Indoor. But that was, they did it up. It was pretty cool to have all the former players in there. Went from there to having dinner with some family and then going to have a good time with some teammates. And that's what it's all about, is getting together and enjoying that, sharing stories, and just being all together.
And football was not the only sport going this weekend, so let's move to the diamond for baseball. OU completed a series sweep of Big 12 opponent Kansas that was punctuated with an incredible victory. I want to clarify it. This is not a typo, and this is indeed a baseball score. The Sooners won 24-4. ORU is next up for OU tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. The OU softball team was joined by Baker Mayfield, who threw the first pitch on Saturday for the conclusion of their series with Iowa State. OU was played pretty close in the first game of the series, pulling out a 6-4 win. However, the next 2 games would not require the full 7 innings, as they would pick up their 33rd and 34th run rule wins on the season, both 9-0. And the NBA playoffs continued last night as 4 series played their Game 4s. Milwaukee would once again build a big lead against the Chicago Bulls and sustain it to put them up 3-1. The Nuggets defended home court to avoid a sweep against the Warriors. The Heat kept Trae Young quiet, holding him to only 9 points to go up 3-1. And lastly, the Pelicans tied the series with the #1 seed Suns 2-2. 3 games are on the horizon for today, with the Nets looking to avoid a sweep, the 76ers looking to clinch the series versus Toronto, and the Jazz and Mavericks look to break their series tie in Game 5. And in the 9th inning of the Phillies-Brewers game last night, emotions overflowed for Kyle Schwarber. Schwarber was not too pleased with a strikeout call from umpire Angel Hernandez. Phillies manager Joe Girardi would eventually take over the argument, but not before Schwarber was ejected. Dylan and Zaria, I know after seeing the crowd for the spring game, I wish football season started tomorrow. How about you guys?
Definitely looking forward to it. Thanks, Tyler. A young student is making some noise with her athletic abilities.
Yeah, well, how one Ohio girl doesn't allow her disability to slow her down. Straight ahead on OU Nightly.
I'm Carolynn Felling at the OU Nightly Update Desk. A federal judge in Louisiana temporarily blocked the Biden administration from ending the public health authority known as Title 42. This was put in place by the Trump administration during the pandemic. The policy placed on the restriction on the U.S. border. The Biden administration has been back on track to end the controversial decision on May 23rd, but this order may affect the administration's plan moving forward. Back to you in the studio.
A 10-year-old in Ohio is turning her dreams into a reality, one arrow at a time. Paige Calendine is a swimmer and a gymnast who was born without legs. Now she's hitting the bullseye in another sport.
The elementary student is taking up archery as a sport and inspiring others in the process. Paige's words of wisdom are to, quote, never give up on what you're doing and follow your dreams.
Speaking of dreams, I'm hoping for some warmer weather this week. Coy, can you tell us what we should expect to stick around?
Yes, Zaria. Well, your dreams are going to come true because we're going to expect warmer weather as we head throughout much of the week. We do have a chance for severe weather on Friday across what would be central Oklahoma. This area could shift a little further east, could shift a little further west. So be checking with the OU Nightly weather team. We'll have the latest updates throughout the week. But for tomorrow, 42 degrees where we start tomorrow morning, 70 by tomorrow afternoon, 75 Wednesday. Those winds increase out of the south, pumping in that warmer weather. 84 for that severe weather chance on Friday. Then we cool down as we head into this weekend. Dylan, Zaria, back to you.
Thanks, Coy, and thank you for tuning into OU Nightly. We're live every weekday from Gaylord Hall on the campus of the University of Oklahoma.
We'll see you back here tomorrow night live at 4:30. Good night.